Kita nyo na ba?
Yes, sir.
Kita nyo ba yan? Mhm. So hindi pa ano yan, hindi
Yes,
pa
po.
talaga final ito, pero I'm just trying to, you know, uh, show you uh, the the progress of the LRP. Na-organize ko na yung ano, na-organize ko na yung finally, no, yung mga ano, and then yung activities, pinag-iisipan ko pa, no, I'm thinking of some other activities pa to include. Okay? Ayan. So dito sa Unit 1, actually, we're done with this thing. No? Yung introduction to eco-literacy, brief history, ayan, environmental literacy, and so on. And then, inorganize ko yung susunod na something to do with education. So, actually, ito yung ating pag-uusapan today, no? Yung lesson 5, environmental literacy and virtual teaching and learning, no? Kasi napapanahon ngayon na we're in virtual environment, no? While having this environmental literacy or eco-literacy subject. Then developing ecological literacy among children, eco-literacy role of early childhood education, deep ecology, no? Para mas maintindihan natin, no? Para mas maintindihan natin yung na-mention ko last time about deep ecology. Ayan. So pag there is another article for that, no? Educational possibilities for the 21st century. So kumbaga, ang inaano dito, ano naman yung role ng school or ng education, no, pagdating sa eco-literacy. Kasi mamaya pag actually yung dito natin pag-uusapan sa lesson 5 yan eh, na napakalaki ng role, particularly yung higher education. And then sa Unit 3, Indigenous People and the Environment, ayan, finally, parang nag-group ko sila together kasi all of these articles are about indigenous communities, say about the medicinal plants, yung mga local indigenous knowledge, yung alternative paradigms of volcanic risk perception. No? This was the Mount Pinatubo eruption case, and then yung traditional forest conservation. Ayan. And then, this is a collage with maybe ano yung slogan. Slogan and collage yan. Or, what's the other one? Ano, yung poster. Yon, could be poster and slogan. Okay, well, ano ko yan. It's more on art. And then environmental issues and concerns na. Yan, tulad ng food security, climate change, about the mangrove system, mangrove ecosystems, yung Typhoon Yolanda, ayan. So I guess ito, enough na to, no, for the entire semester. Ayan. So, hopefully, by next week, makapagbigay na ako ng copy sa inyo nito, ano? Ayan. Okay. And then, this time, punta tayo sa may presentation ko para mas maano tayo dito. The research project. Okay. Ayan. Can you see this? Ayan.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Education and eco-literacy. So here, we're going to explore the relationship between education and eco-literacy. Alam naman natin that they have, though they belong to probably the same umbrella of what education is, what we mean by education here is more on maybe formal, non-formal, and informal, no? As opposed to literacy, no, which is probably a segment of education, no? So kasi syempre education, sasabihin natin education is much bigger, much wider, no, than literacy, because as I understand it, literacy could be just a portion of education, no. uh, Even um basing it to The definitions no given earlier about literacy is about awareness, no, about certain actions on this awareness, yung mga ganyan. Now, we shall examine a certain research titled "How Should We Teach Environmental Literacy? Critical Reflections on Virtual Teaching and Learning Experiences" by Alison Log and Leslie Hudson. Okay, they're from La Trobe University in Australia. So they presented this paper in an international conference. So the abstract of the paper reads discussion on the notion of environmental literacy and how to situate it in the higher education context in which we work, no? Referring to the authors or the researchers. Kung saan kasi the context of this one is in Australia. Okay? So, kailangan din nating malaman yung iba't ibang context, no, as far as environmental literacy is concerned. And then we will try to somehow see kung may relevance ba ito sa ating konteksto here in the Philippines. And then description of a first year environmental literacy. There's a subject. They have environmental literacy na tinuturo no, doon sa school nila na uh, there at La Trobe University. No, it's a center for excellence, and it's taught in outdoor and environmental education. No, pag sinasabing outdoor kasi, hindi ito yung ano lang, no, yung talagang outside the classroom. No, they actually qualify this um, referring to parang virtual learning, no, like what we have now. Okay? Kasi primarily their concern is to reach out students who don't have access no, to go to their school. Ayun. Kaya they do blended learning, they do virtual learning no for them. Pero meron ding ano yan, kumbaga meron ding kumbaga this idea on social equity apparently may produce social inequity. Kasi the reason why they have this kind of program is for them to reach out, that's like what I said earlier, to students who cannot go to the school no, because of accessibility uh, for one. This, however, the problem no, that could crop out no, from this one is uh, like what we experience here in the Philippines about the internet connection no kasi in as much as that they advocate social equity, apparently it may reproduce social inequity simply because uh syempre not everyone naman has that connection then. Kasi knowing Australia, very large, ano yan. It's a continent, no? By the way. And in terms of the geographic elements, makikita natin dyan na talagang napakalawak, no? Napakalawak. And you can just imagine no, how far, other students, no, are, no, from the school. Kaya to solve the problem, ayon, they have this outdoor education. So discussion on issues and questions arising from the findings in relation to recommendations from higher education research. Kasi tinutukoy din dito, ano ba ang role ng higher education pagdating sa environmental literacy? Meron ba? Okay. Examination of the roles of online learning and experiential learning and hidden curriculum associated with both. Yon. I don't know if you're familiar with hidden curriculum, but it's something that is not intended. It's not an intended type of curriculum, meaning it's not spelled out by any official statements, no, or policies from the state. It's something that actually takes place uh, in the process, no, which is not intended. Okay? So, nangyayari talaga 'yan, no? Especially hindi naman lahat ng curricula when implemented fit, no, in the context, no, of the learners. So, eventually teachers strategize to what? To try to implement the curriculum in such a way that it becomes sensitive to the needs of the learners and their own needs as well as teachers. Okay? Kaya we have this what we call hidden curriculum. And so, this paper concludes with suggestions for future curriculum development in relation to environmental literacy. So we may actually use this, no, for this subject as well. No? Kasi sa ibang universities, particularly in other countries, napaka-ano nito, kumbaga kumbaga isa ito sa mga ino-offer na subjects. What is this? Of four pictures, one word. Any guess? Kindly type in the chat box your guess. What these pictures try to say. Start typing in now. Some more. Yung iba, anong nakikita nila? One word. Four pictures, one word ito. More. Sige pa. Ibig sabihin yan. Yun lang? What about the others? You participate. Mm. Mm-hmm. That number of letters. Mm. I have seen the correct answer. Actually, it's okay. So Elijah's correct. It's sustainability. Okay, sustainability. Yan. Okay. So actually, sustainability means working to understand and realize sustainability values in ways where economic, social, and ecological dimensions are as far as possible mutually enhancing. You always put in your mind that economic, social, and ecological dimensions no play together. Okay, as far as sustainability is concerned, and even the values behind sustainability. It's about creating the conditions of survival, security, and well-being for all. Yan yung concept nila. So, according to Sterling 2004, unlearning, relearning, new learning are the essence of this challenge, yung sustainability. We have a challenge to shift from information education. Now this is a very nice metaphor din. From information education kasi tayo, we're at the information age di ba? Information age tayo. There should be a shift now from information education to wisdom education. No? So magkaiba yon. Information education sa wisdom education. So the plea of Sterling is for a shift to wisdom educations based on an acknowledgement that the world is in the midst of an ecological crisis. No? Kasi tama nga naman, no? Sa educational system natin, parang we're we're always taught about climate change, we're always taught about global warming. We're so much drowned with information about this phenomenon. However, parang we don't have the wisdom to act upon, this information, right? Because when we speak of wisdom, it's not just about an information, it speaks of how we experience certain things or certain phenomena. So this crisis is now widely recognized, not only in Australia but also in other parts of the world, no, in relation to global warming. Kaya uh, nagkaroon ng United Nations Decade of Education for Sustainable Development, which started in 2005 to 2014. Ayan. So talagang ano kasi, kailangan na talaga to ameliorate the ecological crisis na ano natin. Now, amidst all this, meron bang role ang education, no? Sa mga nangyayari ngayon na ecological crisis, meron bang role ang education? So kung may role ang education, what role does it play, no, to challenge the ecological crisis? Sabihin natin baka it's a failure. It's another failure of our educational system kasi we're not able to produce citizens or eco-literate citizens. Can we just say that? No? Kasi to say na napakalaki ng role ng edukasyon amidst ecological crisis, then what happened to educational system if it has that big role? Di ba? Ako, naniniwala ako na napakalaki ng papel ng education, no, when it comes to ameliorating ecological crisis, because after all, these are all manifestations of the values of the people, no, the values of the people. And education is meant to influence, no, the values of the people, the ideological perspectives, no, yung kanyang attitudes, yung kanyang behaviors, and eventually yung actions. Ayan. So despite contested notions about the meanings of sustainability, kasi ano nga bang sustainability? Okay? And by extension, sustainable development, merong general agreement that issues of unsustainable human activities must be addressed from multidimensional perspectives. No? Marami kasi tayong mga human activities that are unsustainable. No? Uh, Not to mention the illegal logging, illegal mining, no? Things that we do, no? Burning off waste materials or garbages, no? Not properly disposing of our waste materials, mga ganyan. These are all unsustainable human activities, no? They don't do good, no, to our planet. And so it must be addressed. Ngayon, in addressing such challenge, kailangan natin ng multidimensional perspectives. Hindi lang linear, hindi lang monolithic, kundi multidimensional. So dapat tinitingnan natin not only the environmental, kundi yung social and economic, no? Noong naglagay sila ng white sand doon sa may Manila Bay, natuwa ba kayo o hindi? Hmm? Natuwa ba kayo o hindi? di ba? Ang kumbaga ang ah, ang tinignan lang talaga yung economic aspect not really the environment. So I was also quite surprised how it was allowed by the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, no? Kasi it's not, the presence of white sand there is not a part of the natural process it's not a part of the natural process. It was just meant to attract tourists, to promote tourism. That's economic, no? What about the environmental side? No? What about the environmental side? So kailangan multidimensional ang tingin. Hindi lang yung one-sided lang siya. Okay, para mas maintindihan natin. Okay? So ngayon, nangyayari, it has been, eroded. No? Hindi ka basta-basta maglalagay ng foreign object sa isang lugar. Kasi it can really affect the natural process no, in that setting or in that place. Ayan. So, however, as Sterling alludes to above, there are particular educational challenges around how sustainable human practices can be learned and how education as a culturally embedded system can effectively address such issues. So naniniwala si Sterling na may malaki ang papel ng education no as a culturally embedded system no. Yung education is ano din yan cultural yan no. It's based on our practice of course and values no. Yan. Marami language, religion, no, myths, rituals. Yan. Okay? So pwedeng ano 'to, pwedeng, kumbaga masagot ng education 'no, to challenge yung mga unsustainable human activities. So increasingly, all of these HEIs are seen as important contributors to the development of an environmentally literate citizenry. Totoo ito. Well, in our country, actually meron tayong batas for that. Na bago ka makagraduate, kailangan magtatanim ka pa ng puno. Kaya lang like any other law in the country, kulang sa ngipin, no? Kulang when it comes to implementation, no? So, however, no, before, prior to the pandemic, we had a very rich culture of, uh, planting trees no, in the nearby communities, in our adopted mountain. Uh, Kasi we really see the need no for that. Okay? Kaya lang the problem naman diyan is that minsan hindi nila alam na depende pa rin ito sa puno na itatanim mo. Hindi dahil sa nagtanim ka ng puno nakatulong ka na, no? Kasi there there are also foreign species no of trees that can harm no our setting kasi simply they are not from there kumbaga they're alien no in that place so pwedeng maging invasive no maging invasive sila and can lead to the demise or extinction of our endemic trees for instance. Ayan. Pero ang maganda rito, ina-acknowledge, no? Ina-acknowledge nila na napakalaki ng role ng higher education institution uh, to produce environmentally literate or eco-literate citizens. Okay? Ayan. In this context, Log, Martin, and Stewart consider the role outdoor education might play in developing environmentally literate outdoor educators and pre-service teachers. Uh, ano kasi, syempre dapat like you, no, you are all pre-service teachers, kailangan maturuan din kayo whatever subjects that you handle, kailangan kumbaga sensitive kayo sa pangangailangan ng environment. Okay? Pangangailangan ng environment. That's eco-literacy. No, you always put it in your mind, no, the welfare or the well-being of the nature, no, the environment, no, whatever subject you teach, no, later. Okay? Hindi dahil sa math siya, hindi dahil sa PE, wala ka ng regard for environment. So pwede mong haluan yan ng values, no, that are relevant to what you are teaching. Okay? So ito yung ina-advocate nila na napakalaki ng role ng higher education than to say yung teacher education institution, mga pre-service teachers for instance. Okay? And so, the author suggests that through thoughtful pedagogy, no, from alam na natin kung ano yung pedagogy, no? Outdoor education is well positioned to make a contribution that may promote environmental knowledge founded in direct experience of place based on ecological principles and ultimately seeking a passion for continuing a relationship based on care and respect. Okay. So maganda na we engage in thoughtful pedagogy. Hindi lang yung nagtuturo tayo for no following this and that, no. Hindi. Kumbaga we really have to be mindful of how important it is for us, particularly our pupils or students, to have an interaction with nature, okay, or the environment. Especially kayo sa BEd, no? Napakahalaga on how you teach the care for environment sa mga young learners. Kasi it starts from there. Okay. So, it's almost 11, ano? Let me just give you the purpose of this study. And then we'll continue this next week. So, actually, the paper questions about the roles of outdoor education, meaning it interrogates, it investigates the roles of outdoor education and information technology kasi we're talking about here yung virtual learning nga dahil ano to because of the distance learning, no, that they have, no, in Australia in developing environmental literacy. So magiging effective pa kaya, no, ang pag-aaral at pagtuturo ng environmental literacy, no, sa mga future educators tsaka sa mga estudyante then later, no, if it's done using virtual learning approach or yun nga kumbaga we don't stay, no, inside the classroom, ganon, kaya tinatawag na outdoor education. So some effects of online and independent learning on first year outdoor education students and potentials and pitfalls in relation to environmental literacy development are considered. Ayan. So yung epekto, no, nung online and independent learning like what you are experiencing now, no, kasi parang tayo rin we really need to to indulge in independent learning din like what you're doing. Kailangan yan para mas matuto kayo kasi nasanay kayo for how many years to rely on what the teacher says, no, but actually the teacher may just guide you, no, in the learning process, so kayo pa rin ang magdedesisyon on what to do, no, as far as the learning process is concerned. So ngayon yung setting natin napakaraming na question na mga principles of teaching, no? And so we just have to realize that principles are not written stones. So principles can also change. Okay? Principles can also change. Yan yung lagi kong sinasabi sa mga estudyante ko. Hindi yan nakatatak sa bato na kapag nagkamali ka, para kang nakapatay ng tao. Hindi. Kumbaga, you should always be adaptive to change. You should always be flexible na para dumating man yung ganitong situation, you know what to do. Because, we don't believe that this is the last pandemic in our lifetime. No? There could be another pandemic after this pandemic. And so, by then, we should be more ready. Okay? So, ayan. Uh, okay. And lastly, no, for this meeting, the implications for environmental literacy of apparently opposing pedagogical approaches, outdoor experiential, and virtual learning in this context are considered, no? Kasi paano mo nga ba ituturo, no? Paano mo ituturo ang tungkol sa environment in a virtual way, 'di ba? That is some sort that's really challenging like what we are doing now. And so ano ba yung dapat nating gawin to make education more effective? Okay? And then discussion focuses around a specific environmental literacy subject that the authors taught with first year students in a Bachelor of Physical and Outdoor Education course. In this process, we engage with questions related to Sterling's challenge to shift from information education to wisdom education. So that's from the point of view of the researchers themselves, no? The authors of this research. Okay? So hanggang dito muna tayo kasi we still have few more slides to consider. By then, ano na tayo? Kumbaga, i-discuss natin na dito yung content ng research itself. Kumbaga, ang pinasadahan lang natin ngayon, yung introductory part ng research that they conducted. Okay? So, is there any question or point of clarification? Don't worry, I'll also give a copy of this in the yeah, I'll upload this in the classroom, Google Classroom later. Okay? Wala ba kayong concern or tanong? Ayan. So kung wala na kayong concern or question, then see you next week. Goodbye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye,
Bye.
sir. Thank you po.